Afternoon. This morning, Leader Murphy, myself, the governor, put out a offer in good faith to our Republican colleagues to have a special session to address the gun violence we've been seeing across the state and across the country in recent days. That offer included provisions that we feel very strongly about, that the community feels very strongly about, that the families feel very strongly about, including banning assault weapons and banning high-capacity magazines. We also reached across the aisle and picked up some ideas that our Republican colleagues have been saying are important to them, because we do recognize in order to pass any meaningful gun violence prevention measures through the legislature, we will need votes from both Democrats and Republicans. So we came to the table in good faith and put out an offer that we thought addressed all of those issues. But I'm feeling discouraged after listening to my Republican colleagues just now, because I hear on the one hand that we need to have an open process where all legislators can be involved. And in the very same press conference, I heard Leader Niska say that there wasn't a single Republican vote for an assault weapons ban and that he wasn't even going to bring it to the floor. That's not an open process. But it is the truth that there isn't Republican support for these gun bills. And I think Minnesotans have the answer that they've been looking for about what the Republican position is on guns, that they're not even willing to have a vote on the floor, on the merits, on these very important issues. And that's deeply disappointing to me. It's deeply disappointing to my caucus, our caucus, which has done incredible work in recent years on gun violence. We passed universal background checks and red flag laws that we know are saving lives. There was a great report in the Star Tribune just this week documenting how many successful cases of red flag laws have been passed in recent years. Though every time that happens, we're saving lives and preventing gun violence. We want to build upon that work. We want to do the work that Minnesotans expect of us. We want to do the work that the families expect of us. But it's unfortunate that our Republican colleagues don't share that resolve. So I'm feeling discouraged today, but still resolute. We're going to not give up. We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to make sure that we, at some point in the future, pass these measures, because that's what Minnesotans want.
Good afternoon. I am glad to be with my fellow leader, Zack Stephenson, and with Governor Walz in our determination to bring to the legislature in a special session a suite of measures that we believe will impact and improve the lives of people and keep our kids and our communities safe from gun violence. And we believe we cannot do that without legislation dealing with guns. And so with work over the course of a series of meetings, we did put together a proposal that we believed would meet with bipartisan support, would also achieve the goal that we need right now, which is compromise to make progress. And I think in this legislature particularly, in a divided, so closely divided legislature, we can't just look for bipartisanship. When we have to solve our most difficult issues, and let's say that keeping our kids safe from gun violence in schools is a difficult issue in this legislature right now. I don't understand why, but it is a difficult issue politically in this legislature right now. It requires compromise, not just bipartisan support. And the makeup of the legislature right now requires Republican votes to get this agenda across the line. And I am frustrated that I hear we haven't done any work and there aren't votes. I'm counting my votes, and in the Minnesota Senate, not only have we prepared for a special session with not one but two hearings, taking up a number of issues dealing with gun violence prevention, including legislation to ban high-capacity magazines and to ban assault weapons. My Republican colleagues in the Senate who came to the hearing brought not one proposal, not one. And it is time, I think, for Minnesotans to understand that there are people serving in the legislature that want to protect our communities from weapons of war. And we're willing to do it by making compromise with our Republican colleagues. They are not. We're at an impasse. I'm not surprised, but I am undeterred and will continue to work with my colleagues in the House and with the governor to make progress and to bring Minnesotans into a discussion around what it means to ban weapons of war in making sure our kids and our communities are safe. Thank you.
Is this the end of negotiations between the four caucuses and the governor for now?
I don't think that we're ever going to give up on trying to reach an agreement, because we're never going to give up on taking meaningful action to prevent gun violence. And in order to pass anything meaningful, we will need Republican votes, which is what we've been saying all along, that the state deserves clarity from Republicans about what they are willing to do when it comes to guns. And I think you got it today, because I heard Leader Niska say that there wasn't a single vote in his caucus for an assault weapons ban. So I think we got the clarity that we're looking for, that Republicans aren't willing to vote for meaningful measures to decrease gun violence in our state.
Is there cooperation though on your part? I understand when the Republicans got the plan that you worked out, it was signed by you but not by them. So are you willing to make a compromise within the parameters of all the things you listed to do? Maybe you don't do the ghost gun thing. Like, is there a give and take in that plan? Or are you just, that's the plan and take it or leave it?
Well, it'd be pretty unusual. It was an offer. It'd be pretty unusual for me to sign someone else's name to an offer sheet. We signed our names because we're making that offer to them. And it was just that, an offer that could be negotiated. And I was hoping that we get exactly the kind of counteroffer back that you described. I was hoping that Republican leadership would come back to the table and say, these are some meaningful things we can do on guns, and maybe these are some things we can't, and maybe here are some additional ideas. Instead, they came back and made a process argument about how we need to let every legislator come in. They're hiding behind process. Minnesotans are tired of excuses. They want action.
Murphy, how many members of your caucus would vote yes on an assault weapons ban if it was held tomorrow?
This is a hard vote, I think, for every caucus, Democrat and Republican. Having been through this experience a decade ago, it is a consequential vote, and this is an important moment for Minnesotans. My colleagues are working very hard to understand how they will vote when this issue comes before them, and I'm counting my votes, and I will let you know. But no one has said, hell no. And I think Minnesotans and my colleagues understand that this moment is important, and they're taking it very seriously.
Have you talked to, like, say, Senator Seeberger or Hochschild, any of the three?
You know that I am talking with all of my members, yes.
But have they said, because obviously none of this, it's kind of a moot point if the Senate can't pass it, even if you got to 34, have you gotten any indication that they'd even be open to it?
I am talking with my members.
And can I say it's not a moot point? I mean, there are 201 members of the legislature, 100 of them are Republicans. If Republicans would come to the table and do something meaningful on gun violence, we could get it passed. The focus should be on the fact that there are apparently 0 of 100 Republicans willing to do something meaningful on gun violence.
So there's no special session?
We're continuing to work for one. We want one. We
Yeah.
want
How do
to.
you see it even happening, given what you're talking about?
We're going to have to
right now?
continue to have the conversation. We're going to have to continue to talk to the public, and the public is going to have to talk to their legislators.
The last meaningful legislation passed on gun violence prevention was done in 2023, when we had Democratic control and a full governing majority. And I think Minnesotans should understand that perhaps that's it's going to take, but it can't be the responsibility of Democrats alone to keep our kids safe in schools and keep weapons of war off the street. It should not be Democrats alone. This requires Republican votes, and we need them in order to move this agenda forward.
The response from Leader Johnson says Democrats abruptly ended the meeting and indicated they would no longer work with Republicans to find agreement for a special session. Is that what happened?
What we did was recognize in the room together that we're at an impasse. And we were clear that we were going to share our offer with the public, because I think it's important for the public to know. And it's important for us to act with integrity, and we are. But no one has said we wouldn't go back to the table. I'd be happy to go back to the table to find a path forward on a special session that bans weapons of war.
Do you think you'd have support for the constitutional amendment that the governor sort of floated in the Main Post Festival this weekend?
That, just like any other provisions that deal directly with guns, requires Republican votes.
Well, you say you'd be happy to go back to the table, but here we are at a press conference. Is that because they told you they weren't going to put up any votes, or were you just hearing that at the press conference here now? I mean, what prompted sort of this throwing up of the hands?
Well, I think we reached an impasse. Certainly not going to get into the details of exactly what was said by who and where and when, but we've reached a clear impasse, and we wanted to have that opportunity to communicate to the public about where we're at. We made a good faith offer here that includes some provisions that are very important to us, but more importantly, they're important to Minnesotans and to the families. And then we also included provisions that Republicans have said are important to them. We didn't come out and say our way or the highway. We didn't come out and say only the things that are important to us. We made a good faith effort to reach common ground, and what we got in return was nothing.
So is the idea right now that a special session will just be held and some of these gun proposals, like an assault weapons ban, are just gonna get stuck in committee, like they won't even go to a floor vote? Is that what you're expecting right now?
I'm expecting that the governor is going to exercise what is his authority to call a special session when he decides to do that. And we're going to come prepared to work if he does, and we'll take a vote.
Is your understanding that the governor is willing to call a special session where things stand right now with Republicans on board?
I think what the governor wants and what we want is to pass meaningful gun violence prevention measures at the earliest possible opportunity, and we will continue to work to do that.
Well, the governor's office said October 6th is when you have to have agreement in order to call the 12.
That was the proposal that we put before the Republicans today. It's an offer that's on the table. If they want to accept it right now, I would still accept their signature on that offer. But that was an offer, and as we talked about a minute ago, you know, that was something that could have been negotiated.
Leader Murphy, is your understanding that with the makeup of the Senate right now, if a special session were called with the Republicans on board, that they would, you know, I guess not hold the process up with procedural motions and that sort of thing, and I guess play nice is maybe the right word?
You know, we haven't spent much time talking about those details of a special session, and given our experience over the last year and the work that we have done with the Republicans in both the House and the Senate, I would anticipate that we would come in and do our work in an orderly fashion for the people of Minnesota. And I do want to say that we are talking right now about a tragedy that happened in Minnesota. We lost 2 kids in a brutal shooting. Many more people were injured than that. That doesn't happen that often in Minnesota. For the community of Annunciation and for Minneapolis and for many other communities, they view it as a crisis that requires action, just like we would see when a bridge collapses, when there's a tornado or a flood. They're wondering why we can't act. That's what they're expecting of us. So I think that if we come in, if the governor calls us in, I would hope that all of my legislative colleagues would recognize that we're on very tender territory for Minnesotans who have been harmed by something that they never anticipated or expected, and we should act with the kind of dignity that they would expect and deserve.
This October 12th date that's in the offer, is that set in stone as when a special session would happen, or is that just what was on the offer?
We made a proposal, we made an offer, we were happy to negotiate all of the specifics of that offer, including the dates.
Is there a point at which you call off negotiations and wait till the regular session? Or is this something you want to get done?
We are 100% committed to passing gun violence prevention measures as soon as possible, and we're never going to give up on that. For our caucus, this is very personal. The reason why I'm talking to you, as I've said before, is because our leader was killed in an act of gun violence. We're not going to give up on this. We'll keep talking about it throughout the rest of the interim, if that's what it takes, throughout a regular session, in the campaign, and into 2027. We're in it for the long haul. That's what Minnesotans expect, that we get these results.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.